5:47 in the morning. The alarm hasn't gone off yet, but you're already awake, staring at the ceiling in the dark. Your phone is face down on the nightstand, and you don't want to turn it over because you already know what's waiting. The balance, the notification from the bank, the number that's a little smaller than it should be. You haven't said a single word yet. You haven't even sat up, and poverty already has your full attention. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Poverty doesn't sneak up on you. It moves in slowly, quietly, through 3 habits you practice every single day without ever noticing it happening. And the richest man who ever lived left the cure in plain writing 3,000 years ago. His name was Solomon, and he wasn't writing motivational theory from a quiet room. He was running an empire. Trade routes stitching Egypt to Arabia to the Mediterranean. Fleets, lumber contracts, building projects at a scale that's hard to imagine. All of it managed by hand, with no software, no spreadsheets, no team of analysts. And in the middle of all that, he wrote down a daily routine so precise that financial collapse became almost structurally impossible to fall into. Not luck, not inheritance, architecture. By the end of this, you'll know all 3 habits. The morning posture that decides whether you wake up steady or scared. The single daily audit that almost nobody runs on themselves. And the third one, the habit most likely to stop you cold because it asks you to do the exact opposite of what fear is screaming at you to do. Here's what most people miss. The modern formula sounds reasonable. Work harder, scale faster, sharpen every angle, broadcast the results. Millions follow it to the letter and still can't explain why, at the end of every month, the numbers never quite add up. They read the books, they watch the videos, they upgrade the strategy, and something structural keeps failing underneath all of it. Solomon diagnosed it 3,000 years ago. He wrote that the person who loves money never has enough of it, and the person who loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. He wasn't describing broke people. He was describing the ones who had already arrived. People with income and momentum who still felt that exact dread you felt this morning, pressing against the back of the mind before the feet even touched the floor. That feeling has a name. Solomon called it the poverty mindset, and he was surgical about it. Poverty is a perceptual condition before it ever becomes a financial one, which means it doesn't move in through your bank account first. It moves in through your attention, and the door has to be guarded before the first notification of the day ever arrives. Number 1. Roll the weight off before the day piles it on. Solomon's first move wasn't a budget. It wasn't a savings rate. It was a morning posture. He wrote that you should commit whatever you do to God, and your plans will be established. And the word he used for commit is where this gets strange. In the original Hebrew, the word is galal. And galal doesn't mean think about it. It doesn't mean hope for it. It literally means to roll, to physically take a heavy weight off your own shoulders and transfer it onto something stronger than you. Sit with that for a second. The most quoted productivity verse in history isn't about planning harder. It's about load transfer. Solomon wasn't telling you to carry the weight better. He was telling you to put it down every morning, on purpose, before the market opens. Because here's what that does. Picture 2 versions of the same person walking into the same Monday. The first one wakes up and immediately starts carrying the overdue bill, the rent, the comparison to the guy who's doing better. All of it loaded onto his back before he's even brushed his teeth. He walks into the day already exhausted, already bracing. The second one wakes up and rolls it off first. Same bills, same problems, but he walks in with his hands empty enough to actually catch an opportunity when it shows up. A mind anchored in that transfer can't be knocked over by every bad headline or every competitor moving faster. But the morning posture is only half of habit 1. The other half is attention. Solomon wrote, "Know the condition of your flocks, give careful attention to your herds, because riches don't last forever, and a crown isn't secure across generations." Most people audit their money once, maybe twice a year, and usually only after something has already gone wrong. Solomon ran daily diagnostics on everything he owned, because wealth without attention is wealth already in the process of disappearing. And here's the line that splits 2 kinds of people. Anxiety checks the numbers and panics. Discipline checks the numbers and adjusts. The difference between those two responses is everything. Number 2. Audit your words like they're a line item on your balance sheet. Solomon wrote that the tongue holds the power of life and death, and he was speaking economically. The words you repeat every day build the mental room inside which every financial decision gets made. What you say about your situation, out loud, in conversation, even in private thought, becomes the lens you evaluate every opportunity through. A man who keeps saying he never has enough will find evidence for it everywhere, because he trained his attention to locate scarcity before it locates anything else. But here's the mechanism most people never see, and it's the heart of habit 2. There's a man sitting in a coffee shop right now, telling a friend about the business he's going to start. It's the 6th time he's told this story. His eyes light up exactly the way they did the first time. The friend nods, impressed, and he walks out feeling like he accomplished something. He didn't. He hasn't sent a single email. He hasn't made one call. But his brain doesn't know the difference, because describing the plan gave him the same hit of satisfaction that finishing it would have. That's the trap. Solomon drew the line 3,000 years ago. All real work brings a profit, he said, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Idle talk isn't harmless. It's a financial liability wearing the costume of ambition. So the audit is simple, and you have to run it daily. Every time you're about to tell the story of the thing instead of doing the thing, you stop, because that little hit of relief your brain hands you when you announce a big plan, that sensation of completion, is the exact thing quietly draining your future. You felt the reward without doing the work, and the brain, having already been paid, closes the file. And that's exactly why the third habit feels so backwards, because once you understand that talk is the cheap version of action, you start to see that holding on, hoarding, gripping, is the cheap version of security. It feels safe. It isn't. Number 3. This is the one most likely to stop you cold. Release something on purpose before you feel ready. The principle runs all through the wisdom Solomon lived by. Give, and it comes back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The measure you use on the way out is the measure that comes back to you. It's the law of sowing and reaping applied to every resource you hold, not just seeds in a field. And Solomon framed it as strategy, not sentiment. He wrote, "Send your grain across the sea, because after many days you may see a return. Spread it across 7 ventures, even 8, because you don't know what trouble may come on the land." Read that again. That's diversified generosity framed as risk management. A man releasing resources in several directions because he understood that clinging tightly isn't protection, it's stagnation. A closed fist can't receive anything new. And here's where most people stall. They're waiting until they have enough before they start giving. Solomon flipped that equation completely. You don't start to have enough when you finally save enough. You start to have enough the moment you stop hoarding what you already have. Pay attention to this, because Solomon described the opposite with the precision of a man who'd watched it happen in real time. He wrote that he'd seen a grievous thing under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owner. Picture that man for a second. Call him whatever you want. 61 years old, more money in the bank than he could spend in 2 lifetimes. And he eats dinner alone almost every night, because somewhere along the way, the constant calculation of threat, the suspicion of every offer, the refusal to let anything go, stopped being a money strategy and became a personality. His kids call on holidays out of duty. His old partners stopped pitching him deals years ago because he treated every conversation like a negotiation he had to win. He didn't lose his fortune to an enemy or a crash. He's losing it the slow way, to a grip so tight that nothing new, no relationship, no opportunity, no help can get in. The isolation his hoarding built became the exact room where his wealth quietly rots. Andrew Murray, who spent his life writing about surrender, taught something close to this. The life fully handed over is the one that finds itself most fully supplied, because surrender isn't the abandonment of stewardship, it's the highest form of it. And John Chrysostom, the 4th century preacher who understood wealth better than almost anyone in church history, said it more plainly. Wealth and poverty are not the real issue. The real issue is whether you direct your money or your money directs you. The moment you stop holding it with an open hand, it starts holding you. The hand that releases is the hand that receives, and that's a law that works the same way in every century. So here's the part nobody connects. These 3 habits aren't a checklist, they're a single loop, and each one feeds the next. When you roll the weight off in the morning, you stop speaking from fear, because fear is the thing you just put down. And when you stop speaking from fear, releasing gets easier, because you're no longer guarding every dollar like it's the last one you'll ever see. And the moment you can release freely, there's nothing left for the poverty mindset to grip in the morning, so the next day starts lighter than the last. Roll the weight off, guard your words, open your hands. Each turn of that loop makes the next turn easier. Solomon ran an empire on it. And the architecture of poverty hasn't changed in 3,000 years, which means the cure hasn't either. So tomorrow morning at 5:47, the phone is still going to be face down on the nightstand. The balance is still going to be what it is. The notification is still waiting. None of that changes overnight. But now you know what to do before you turn it over. Before you check the messages, before the market opens, before any of the noise reaches you, you roll the weight off. That's habit 1. Through the day, you run the audit on what your words are quietly building, and you catch yourself before you trade the work for the story of the work. That's habit 2. And before the day ends, you release something on purpose, not because you have surplus, but because that's the thing that breaks the grip at its root. That's habit 3. You don't have to master all 3 at once. Pick one. Start tomorrow morning. Because even surrounded by all of Solomon's gold, one of the wisest voices in the very same book of Proverbs didn't pray for maximum accumulation. He asked for neither poverty nor riches, just his daily bread, enough to steward faithfully, enough to give freely, and the freedom of not being owned by the size of his own reserves. What you steward faithfully today is already being multiplied for tomorrow. Thank you for watching.